How's everybody doing? On this one, I just did the ex-Jehovah Witness on it's just a big subject about the direction in which we're going, or understanding certain things that I had to come, that I've worked with this whole year, more than a year. But what I did was, it's just a lot of facts and everything came together showing me that it was right what a lot of people have told me in the past about what I talked about. It's hard for me to say because I can't say it's not specific. It deals with everything that we've been talking about and who's at the blame for this, for all the things that happen to us as Jehovah Witnesses and our problems. And it just states, I wanted to let everybody know that I know the how can I say, the entity or the cause, and who's causing the problems and who has caused the problems as far as the ex-Jehovah Witnesses are concerned. But the problem was that it also showed me, those that are responsible, it also shows me that they're still doing a lot, and that's happening in today's world. And it's kind of like a secret because it's unknown and it's hard to explain. So if you listen to that last video I just did, I just put down, I understand things that I didn't understand before. But those of you who are, the reason why I don't say it directly, because it's such a big, powerful subject. And I know a lot of people have said it in their YouTubes about the problems and who was the cause. But I feel that it has to be done in a certain manner to where it's easier to understand. Like, it took me all this time to come up with that, the truth actually about the cause of our problems that's also caused in a lot of problems in the world. In the world that, I'm not talking about as a Jehovah's Witness, you know what I'm talking about. So anyway, that one's a good video because I was setting up for the fact that it has to be explained, but I have to figure out a way to explain it. But it's so big that you just can't, certain things you just can't express in one sentence. It's just like when we pray. Sometimes we pray and we're looking for the answer, but it's not a yes or no. It's such a big answer that it takes, over time we learn. Once we learn something, and then we learn more. But not everything is answerable. And that's good for people to realize also. When people ask you questions, sometimes they're asking you, I was hoping this thing was on, because I did all this talking. I didn't want to be talking for nothing. Some people ask questions. It's good for us because some people might ask you a question that takes a long time to answer. And you just can't have an answer like right away. So now you have the experience, and I'm telling you that sometimes you have to think about and say, how long is it going to take me to answer this question? And then you tell the person or the entity, well, I'm sorry, but that's such a big question. I have to think about it first. I have to figure out how I'm going to express it to you. And it's not going to be done it's not going to be done very rapidly. It's going to take me a while to answer you that question. So basically, that's the way I wanted to explain the video. That's why it seemed like it was done beating around a bush, but it wasn't beating around a bush. It was just showing you that it takes a while to answer that question or to start explaining those YouTubes. But I also explained that I have another platform that I work on, which is in X. It used to be Twitter, and I talk about, it's just blogs though. It's no videos or anything. And I just talk about the Christian fantasy. I made up Christian fantasy. So those who are interested in that one, I get into detail about everything there. And it's no problem whatsoever. But this is a different platform because it's videos, you know. Blog, you can explain things in detail and better. So it's just a different platform, that's all. So anyway, saying that, now I'm getting into this video, what I wanted to talk about. And this is about, to me, a mental torture. It's about something that we really went through, and I was thinking about it, and now I want to express it in the video. Is something that I never, and it's different from everything that we talked about, because it's a type of torture that I could never understand. I'm calling it torture, I'm sorry, but I've always felt that way. It's going from house to house. And before, I used to never thought, I brush it off and say I don't have to go out in service anymore, you know. But it's a big deal, because I remember as a child when we would go from house to house in our friend's neighborhood. It was just something that you would not believe. It was horrifying. It was really horrifying. And how terrible it was, and you never got used to it. And when I got older, I still never ever, and it was a torture every time I went out in service or from door to door. We call it out in service. And I also feel it when I see the people who are doing it nowadays with their big racks or whatever you want to call them. And it's a torture. And I want to talk about that. I don't understand it, and I want to go into trying to understand what was happening for something that you never got used to. I think my cousins would get used to it. I mean, one cousin that I was very close to, Linda, I told you about her. But she saw it as a job. I mean, and she agreed with it, I think. And they make money. I think if you make money from it, I think that you can handle it better, you know. But I didn't think about that, and I was thinking about, even when I was younger, I hated it because you would go into your neighborhood of your, you know, friends. You didn't want to see your friends when you would go out in service, and it was horrifying. And that's something I never got over, and it affected my personality. I don't know how yet, but I'll find that out. Maybe I'll do another segment on this, because it's very serious. And to me, it's different than anything else going from door to door. Because now, as I go through this journey that we've been going through, I see things in a better light, and how a lot of things have affected us. And then, after I stopped, I had finished high school, I saw that it still was a kind of a torture, something that I never really liked. Not liked, but the whole time while I was doing it, it was, when I call it torture, it was a mental torture, because I'm saying you're forcing yourself to do something. You were forced. I didn't say it was on me. I mean, I know you did it, but that's the whole thing about something mental, is that sometimes you're being forced by the system to go from door to door and talk to people. And I never got over it. And I think it affected me. I don't know if it was one thing that, can I say, affected me negatively? And I would like to know how it affected me negatively. I think one way that it affected me negatively is that I remember when I was in New York City, and there was one job that someone wanted to teach me, but I had to talk to people. It was almost like going from door to door, but I had to go from business to business, something like that, or in businesses. But as soon as I started doing it, I hooked to that feeling of regret. I mean, of not wanting to do it, of going from door to door. So I couldn't do it because it reminded me too much of going from door to door, which was a nice job, but I couldn't do it because of that. And then I remember in one of my videos when I had to, when I came up with American Yoga, which is one of the aspects of this channel, and I had to talk to like 10 people, pass out this thing about American Yoga. I had to do it because I was changing from Dance Without Music to American Yoga. You know, they're interchangeable actually now, but I had to talk to people, and the only thing I could think of was being a Jehovah Witness when I had to go from door to door. So it was harder for me to do it. So in that light, I think it kind of I mean, you know, it's not really a big damage, but it affected me in my life, you know what I mean? But while it was going on, it was horrifying. I can say every Saturday and Sunday, or whenever I had to do this service, it was like a torture. And now I know that when I'm faced with a situation like that, it's really, really difficult for me, because I always have to overcome the fact that I'm not going from door to door from a Jehovah Witness standpoint. But when I did the yoga thing, like I was saying, passing out the 10 things, it was so uncomfortable for me because I had that experience. So that's something I want to get into. I want to see, why is it so difficult why was it such a torture? Now, I know why, because it was something that I didn't want to do. But what was some of the effects? How did going from door to door affect me? And I know it may seem funny, but the only thing I'm not the type of person, which I'm happy for, is I don't say, oh, they hurt me and now I want to seek revenge or something like that. I don't do that. My whole thing is like, I want to correct it. I want to find out what was happening to me when I went out in service from door to door. I know that it was something abnormal, but I want to understand why is it such a torture. Even when I see these Jehovah Witnesses nowadays, you know, with their carts, it's a torture to me. And I know they're being tortured some kind of way, but I wonder, why is it a torture? What happens to you when you're doing this? It's almost like you're doing it against your will. So anyway, that's what I wanted to tell you about this house to house, or house to house, or going out in service. How against your will it is. And it's still happening now, but I want to understand it better. And it may have I know people are affected by it in different ways, but I don't think it just goes away when you become an ex-Jehovah Witness. Because a lot of things, like I said, you have to face it. It seems like a little thing, but I don't think it's a little thing. But maybe it's stopping me from doing other things. And that's what I want to find out. After this video, I'm going to continue to search and find out where it has affected me. Because it's a big block, and I don't know what the block is. And I don't think it's detrimental. But knowing the information, I could probably succeed at something better than what I'm exceeding now. You know, maybe it has to do with my, I know I'm passive aggressive at a lot of things. Maybe it has to do with that, I don't know. But anyway, I'm going to find out. So this is, I guess, the first part of this one. And after I've, come to grips with that, I'm going to find out what this door-to-door thing has to do with. I know it sounds silly for some people who haven't faced this door-to-door torture. And it is a torture, though. It's a mental torture, and people don't realize how mental torture is just as it's not on the same category as physical torture. Yes, the physical torture is like present torture, and it affects you physically. But mental torture can stay with you, and it can affect a lot of things that you're doing in life. So I'm going to find that out. So thanks a lot for this video. I know I just did one. I usually don't do them back to back like this. And I hope to see you again. I hope everybody's doing fine. Thank you very much. Bye.